How's everyone doing today? All right, awesome. My name is Chad Wallace. I run our group called Commercial Solutions at MasterCard. And what we do is design products and services for corporates. Those corporates could be large corporations all the way down to small businesses. And what we do is we often distribute our products through banks, partners, and I'm excited about the conversation today. So a big key theme of this embedded finance journey is this concept where financial institutions and technology platforms are coming together to be able to create a better customer experience. And I think that we all use our phones, we all use devices, then we question as an employee of these corporations, why? Why is the experience on my iPhone so much easier than the ERP system that I use at work? And so I think from our finance team's perspective, exploring the ability to create an integrated experience for our customers is really key, and looking forward to the conversation today. So first and foremost, we'd love to introduce our panelists. So Brett, I'll turn it over to you for a quick introduction to start with.
Sounds good. So my name is Brett Turner. I'm the founder and CEO of Truvada. So we are a next-gen cash management platform. One of the things to level set it too, I think just at fintech, oftentimes people just think of consumer or small business. For us, we focus more on the enterprise mid-market side. So building an entirely next-gen experience, but all built on APIs. But when you're a company that's about 10 million in revenue and above, connecting to your banks or corporate banking is an entirely different thing than it is leveraging a lot of the existing aggregation tools on the consumer and retail side of the bank. So we've been pioneering APIs in corporate banking, and then all of that data used to power a next-gen experience for finance operations and treasury management as well. And then just real quickly, as my background, Truvada's my seventh startup. Have been a CFO across 3 different enterprise startups, all selling in more regulated industries. All have kind of grew and scaled. Prior to that was at Amazon, and then started my career early on at Deloitte as a CPA.
Awesome. Howard.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you. I guess I'm the anti-startup because I've only worked at big banks my whole career. But Howard Foreman, I head our digital channels team for PNC's corporate and institutional bank. We support clients from our small business customers all the way up to our large multinationals across a variety of channels. I've got responsibility for the online and mobile banking platform, as well as embedded finance, so building out our APIs and externalizing those to customers and integrating those APIs into the platforms that our clients are using to run their business.
Awesome. Okay, so Howard, we're going to start with you. So let's talk a little bit about customer needs. Desire to digitize. We hear quite a bit from customers around their use of tools. And so specifically, what do you hear from your customers on a regular basis? And then for the folks that are in the room, especially the fintechs, what are some of the key needs that they should be considering whenever they build out and scale these types of digital solutions?
All right, yep, 2-part question. Okay, so in terms of what we hear from customers, not surprising, it's efficiency and automation, right? They want to spend more time running their business and not doing manual financial tasks. So we think about ways that we can remove those manual tasks and automate them, whether it's moving data from one application to another or initiating and reconciling payments, or where I think the real sweet spot is getting customers' information to them faster so that they can make better and faster decisions, right? So that's what informs our embedded finance strategy, which, as I said, we build out APIs for our products and services. We externalize those APIs for our customers to use directly. And I think that touches on some of what you touched on in the introduction, is they can take our APIs and build really elegant experiences for their employees in an in-house application, or they could take those APIs and build really elegant experiences for their own customers. So if you think about a payment process that's, making claims payments to an insurance policy holder or accepting a payment in a retail location, that you can really do some creative things if you've got access to APIs and they're transacting behind the scenes in real time with information, whether it's fraud prevention information or just what type of payment is an account eligible for. So there's that side of the work that I do, and then the side that Brett and I are working on together is embedding our APIs into those platforms that customers are using. So an ERP like a NetSuite or a Sage Intacct or a Microsoft Dynamics or a cash management system like Trovata, where we want to make it easy for our customers that are using these systems to be able to have access to their data, again, in a more automated, real-time manner. So if I was taking the second part of your question around fintechs, like what would I say to the fintechs in the room? I think the things that are important for us are, number one, we absolutely want to try to drive towards standards wherever possible. So PNC has done a lot of work in pushing towards like the DDA standard, which is now part of the FDX spec in terms of exchanging deposit account information. We also want to ensure that the partners that we're integrating with are building scalable processes for us. So when we implement customers, we want things to be as seamless as possible. We can't have technology turnovers every time we implement a customer. It's got to all be self-service to the extent possible. And I would say the third thing that's important for us to think about is trying to drive wherever possible to those integrations where we're less looking at what I would say point-to-point integrations where we're connecting with lots of individual fintechs and maybe trying to drive more towards somebody like an Akoya where we can get a one-to-many, many-to-one that benefits both of us because we're kind of eliminating all of these individual point-to-point connections.
That's great. Okay, and Brett, so turning to you, you guys are solving the needs of many treasury teams. You talked a little bit about the enterprise, typical customers like the enterprise side. Talk to us a little bit about your API strategy. And then, we'll definitely have a conversation on AI after this, because what panel doesn't have a conversation on AI at this point?
When you look at what's happening in corporate banking, in my experience being more on startups on the enterprise side, everything that happens in consumer, small business is like a 5 to 7 years later, it kind of hits enterprise. So when you look at, we're going through this massive 25, 30-year-old kind of 30-year sort of transformation on the banking side, and with all that started on the retail core of the bank, it's sort of brought up, and everything's sort of speeding up, brought about the need for more interoperability. And if you look at what's in the market today, it's all companies are, big companies are doing so much in spreadsheets, forecasting, building forecasting models and maintaining those in Excel. And then if they're multi-bank, aggregating all of that in a variety of different ways, but still kind of hitting Excel. If you're a really large corporate, you'll use a treasury management system, but these are 25 to 45-year-old legacy or monolithic software. So APIs are really opening things up. And it's been fun to work with PNC because, APIs are fairly new. We're pioneering these. They are done very differently. They have to be secure. They have to follow a lot of rigor that the bank is making available in order to make its data available to its customers. And so all of that is allowing what's different, not to disrupt the bank but really to augment it or build things on top of it where it's a lot of new services, new things that just customers don't have, and it's streamlining a lot of these workflows and automating a lot of these workflows in a way, better cash visibility and cash flow analysis and forecasting and treasury management in a way that has never been integrated or more interoperability with or interoperable with like ERP systems and things like that. So that gap is starting to close. APIs are the key to making that happen, and it's been fun to innovate.
AI. Let's talk a little bit about AI and the use of that in the treasury space. Brett, what are your thoughts?
I think for us, we're all about automation. So it's leveraging all this data, and it's all about we have to normalize all that data across all the different banks. There isn't really a standard today. The legacy standard is SWIFT, which is a way banks talk to each other, sort of send messages internationally as well. And so when you look at automating off all this data, you can do it a variety of different ways. AI and machine learning has been something at the heart of what we do as a company. We've been in market for now about 4 years. Our customers like Square, DraftKings, Fanatics, Krispy Kreme donuts, mid-market enterprise companies. So now that Gen AI is happening and it's speeding up, and we're already kind of moving into Act 2, this notion of lean teams And every accounting and finance and treasury, they're just constantly having to do more with less. So if you look at the digital transformation that happened more on the cloud side, over 10 years ago, and that was my last startup, just having a front row seat to the digital transformation of IT, we're dealing with this digital transformation in banking and financing now. So now that Gen AI is here, it's really this promise of having almost like team members that are essentially extension of the tech, that's leveraging the tech, but doing it in a way that is just from scenario planning and even forecasting or projections, doing things that it just takes a long time to do or a lot of modeling to do to be able to get out these various scenarios. So if you think when like COVID hit, everybody's sort of scrambling for, raiding all the aisles in the shopping market. Finance teams are hunkering down, basically running a lot of scenario models and things like that. Now, as you look at going forward with everything kind of moving so fast and you can't get flat-footed, being able to avoid some of that leanness by using Gen AI to be able to do that and sort of add that as an extension to your team, that's where everything is going.
That's awesome. So question for both of you. Howard, I'll start with you on this one. So this is really around success stories, use cases that you guys have seen in the concept of embedded finance. What successes are you guys seeing?
So we've had a lot of success with our embedded integrations. As I said, NetSuite, Sage Intacct, you can rattle off a whole bunch of accounting systems and ERPs, treasury management systems like Trivada. We've had tremendous uptake as clients have taken advantage of all of these integrations that we've built. And again, we've done some really cool things to make it easy for our customers to be able to share their data and have control over where their data is going. I think the other place where we've been very successful and have some great use cases to talk about is with those direct APIs that clients are taking and building really elegant experiences for themselves. So if you think about, you could take a large rail carrier, for example, that moves rail cars based on the arrival of payment transactions. And being able to get that information in real time versus sort of these batch uploads of payment information, they can act more quickly and have improvements to their operations by getting that information and moving the rail cars rather than waiting 45 minutes for the next batch file to come in to see if that payment's arrived or not. We have retail customers that are taking payments in person in stores, right? Consumers still write checks for some things, right? They can digitize that check right there at the point of sale, do an inquiry on it, ensure it's a valid bank account number, do a fraud check on it, and then create their own in-store experience using our payment acceptance APIs rather than just using an out-of-the-box solution from a provider. So there's multiple use cases I could go through. Anybody really that's got a C2B type of payment experience. Again, I mentioned insurance claims payments. We've done a lot in the insurance industry to help our insurance company clients make their claims payments more effectively and then get claims payments into the hands of their claimants much quicker using something like real-time payment. So I mean, I could probably take the rest of the time going through all the use cases, but I won't do that. I'll let Brett talk about his successes.
Yeah, Brett?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One is never figured that we'd have to build, just go so heavy in building out APIs. It's been now 5 years, and everything that we build on top is sort of predicated on connecting with the bank through building APIs. So we've built the largest library of APIs in corporate banking now worldwide. One of our best is that PNC does a great job in terms of the API that they have. So that's been awesome. Another big, of the customers we have, Block or Square is one of our biggest customers. They've been with us from the very beginning, and they sort of moved off of the legacy treasury system that they had onto Trivada, and that's been a big success story, but I think also a proxy where every company is ultimately going. So we have 22 banks all aggregated onto Trivada as a platform, over 200 million transactions, all done through natural language search and having a modern tagging mechanism to be able to traverse all this data in 300 milliseconds. All of that data is aggregated and available through our developer portal. So they think of Square, one of the biggest payments companies in the world, but still, even a lot of the third-party payments ecosystems, everything still settles in batches eventually, ultimately with the bank. So that whole batch reconciliation to all the detail is still a huge problem. So they've actually built 8 apps off of our developer portal to help them streamline all the reconciliation they do internally. So all of this, I would say that's a good example of embedded banking, helping be an extension of the bank to really, but multi-bank to be able to drive automation when now banking is sort of permeating and being everywhere where commerce is, just because everything has gone digital.
So, Howard, you mentioned a few use cases specific to various different industries. How important is that segmentation based on industry when you go out to your clients, when you think about these types of solutions?
I mean, the segmentation is important. I think, again, there's use cases that naturally lend themselves for these types of experiences, or using APIs to create these experiences. So insurance, again, is a good example. And what's also good about insurance is there's platforms that insurance carriers use to manage their claims and their claims processes. So Guidewire is a good example of that. And they have a marketplace, and we build a connector that leverages our payments APIs. So insurance carrier that's using Guidewire can just dock right into PNC's e-payments products and deliver real-time payments, ACH payments. They could pay, auto body shops, however they need to get paid for a particular claim. So there are certain industries, healthcare is probably another one, where you've got some very specific healthcare platforms like Epic and Cerner that lend themselves to having these integrations built inside them. But we've seen success up and down the spectrum. Really, anybody, again, that's accepting a payment from a consumer is especially ripe for using APIs, even in the B2B space. But the consumer payments have a little bit more jazz you could put behind them, because you can just do a little bit more interesting things in mobile apps, for example, when you're making or accepting a payment from a consumer.
And Brett, and segmentation from your perspective?
Yeah, I think any company where cash is important, which is every company. So we really don't see any pockets. I mean, in some cases, traversing data is a little bit differently. So if you look at like real estate companies, they might have lots of bank accounts, but maybe not as much cash. And sometimes it's the other way around with other companies. So, but cash is still king everywhere. And so, so tech companies, obviously we have a lot of early adopters as tech companies, but we've got, like Chicago Children's Hospital, Temple University, and Krispy Kreme donuts. So everything in between. So I think at the end of the day, everything is just becoming so digital and so pervasive, where everybody needs to automate along the lines of just in finance and their cash workflows.
So looking ahead, thinking out the future, let's say 5 to 10 years from now, where do you see the future? You're looking at me like you can't predict the future here. So where do you see the future going? Like, where do you see these types of relationships going as far as banks working with fintechs? Where do you see platforms moving to? Would love to hear any insights that you guys have related to the future.
Yeah, predictions are always a little bit risky to make. So as long as we don't record this and play it back in 5 years to see how wrong I was. But I would say, the exciting part is where we're barely in the first quarter of the game, right? So there's the whole game ahead of us. I think there's a lot of really exciting stuff to come. We approach fintech relationships a couple of ways. Again, we have integrations that we'll do if our clients are using a particular fintech and they need us to integrate with that fintech to make that data transport easier. That's one way we work with fintechs. We also want to leverage fintech capabilities in our platform of services. So if somebody's got a great product offering, we'll see how can we integrate that into our treasury management platform, either in whole or in part using an API, for example. Maybe we want a sliver of functionality that we can offer inside of our product, and it just augments the products and services that we have. So I think we'll see a lot more of that happening. I think we'll evolve to see banks being more marketplace driven, where we'll have the ability to connect you with our various integration partners in a little bit more of a seamless manner, where some banks say it's a little bit of a heavier lift to try to get connected to the fintech partners. We're trying to make that a lot easier. Again, it goes back to my comments earlier about being scalable and easy implementations and integrations. We've built the foundation in our online channel for our clients to manage these integrations easily, give them transparency, control. I say that over and over again because I think that's key to making this work for customers. So I think 5 years from now, it's going to be easy for everybody to connect with these fintechs through the bank platforms.
And Brett?
Yeah, I think when you look at in the days of branches, and then mobile came along, and mobile sort of just commandeered the banking experience in a lot of ways on the consumer and even small business to an extent. And I think APIs will be that more on the corporate side. If you think of this whole notion of like, well, banks aren't tech companies. Well, they're building APIs, and that's their way of kind of becoming more of that extension to allowing all of these new and next-gen services to really be built on top. And they will do some of those things, and then there will be a fintech ecosystem, Truvada and other companies that do those things as well. So I think, if you look at all the third-party payment ecosystem that really exists outside the bank, it's in some ways it's sort of a lack of the APIs. Now that the APIs are coming, they're providing direct rail access. And so I think there's going to be the third-party payment ecosystem is going to get squeezed really, really hard. So I think that's an area, because now the bank can kind of do what it does, which is it's your payment provider or payment processor. So I think a lot of these things are going to help the bank sort of do its job better, and I think it's going to collapse a lot of the things kind of in between, and everything is going to get a lot more interoperable, throughout an entire ecosystem. So this gap that's existed forever, which the word reconciliation comes out of, between the ERP systems or different systems and the bank, is really going to start to close, and that's going to get super interesting.
That's awesome. Well, first of all, thank you guys. Really appreciate the time,
Thank you.
Brett and Howard, and we will turn it over to the next panel.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep.